10. Now Adonijah, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had taken Ai and totally destroyed it, doing to Ai and his king as he had done to Jericho and his kings, and that the people of Gibeon had made a treaty of peace with Israel and were living near them. He and his people were very much alarmed at this, because Gibeon was an important city, like one of the warrior cities. It was larger than Ai, and all its men were good fighters. So Adonijah, king of Jerusalem, appeared to Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Labshin, and Debir, king of Eglon. Come up and help me attack Gibeon, he said, because it has made peace with Joshua and all the Israelites. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, joined the forces. They moved up with all their troops and took up positions against Gibeon and attacked them. The Gibeonists then sent word to Joshua in the camp of Gilead. Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, because all the Amorites kings from the hill country has joined forces against us. So Joshua marched up from Gilead and with his entire enemy, including the all best fighting men. The Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hands. Not one of them will be able to withstand you. After an all-night march from Gilgal, Joshua took them by surprise. The Lord threw them into confusion before Israel, who defeated them in a great victory at Gibeon. Israel pushed them along the road going up to Beth Horon and then cut them down all the way to Azekah and Makkedah. As they fled before Israel on the road down from Beth Horon to Azekah, the Lord hurled large hailstones down on them from the sky, and more of them died from the hailstone than were killed by the sword of the Israelites. On the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, O sun, stand still over Gibeon, O moon, over the valley of Achshaph. So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. As it is written in the book of Joshua, the sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed the going down about a full day. There has never been a day like this before or since, a day when the Lord listened to a man. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp of Gilead. Now the 5 kings had fled and hidden in the cave of Makkedah. When Joshua was told that the 5 kings had been found hiding in the cave of Makkedah, he said, roll large rocks on the mouth of the cave and post some men there to guard it. But don't stop. Purchase your enemies, attack them from the rear, and don't let them reach their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hands. So Joshua and the Israelites destroyed them completely. Almost a man, but a few who were left reached their front-filled cities. The whole army then returned safely to Joshua in the camp of Makkedah, and no one uttered a word against the Israelites. Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me. So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave, the king of the Jerusalem, Hebron and Jarmuth, Lachish and Eglon. When they had brought these kings to Joshua, he summoned all the men of Israel and said to the army commanders who had come with him, come here and put your feet on the necks of these kings. So they came forward and placed their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight. Then Joshua struck and killed the kings and hung them on 5 trees, and they were left hanging on the trees until evening. At sunset, Joshua gave the orders, and they took them down from the trees and threw them into the caves where they had been hiding. At the mouth of the cave, they placed large rocks, which are there to this day. That day Joshua took Makkedah. He put the city and its kings of the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it. He left no survivors, and survivors, and he did not to the king of Macedonia, so he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on the Macedonia of Libya and attacked it. The Lord also gave the city and its king into Israel's hands, and the city and everyone in it Joshua put the sword. He left no survivor there, and he did to his kings as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel were with him, moved on from Libya to Lashes. He took up positions against it and attacked it. The Lord handed Lashes over to Israel, and Joshua took it on the second day, the city and everyone in it, and he put to the sword, just as he had done to Libya. Meanwhile, Horam, king of Gezer, and come up to help Lashes, but Joshua defeated him and his army until no survivor were left. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Lachish to Eglon. They looked up positions against it and attacked it. They captured it that same day and put it to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it, just as they had done to Lachish. Then Joshua and all Israel with him went up from Eglon and Hebron and attacked it. They took the city and put it into the sword, together with its kings, its villagers, and everyone in it. They left no survivor. Just as Eglon, they totally destroyed it and everyone in it. Then Joshua and all Israel with him turned around and attacked Debir. They took the city, its kings and its villagers, and put them to the sword. Everyone in it, they were totally destroyed. They left no survivor. Then they did to Debir and his kings as they had done to Libyan and his kings on the Hebron. So Joshua suggested the whole region, including the hill country, the Negev and the western foothills and the mountain slopes. Together with all their kings, he left no survivor. He totally destroyed all who waited, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. Joshua surrounded them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza and from the whole region to Goshen and Gibeon. All these kings and their lands Joshua conquered in one campaign, because of the Lord and the God of Israel fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp of Gilead. 11. When Jabin king of Hazor heard of this, he sent word to Jeb king of Madon, to the king of Shemard of the Akzites, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains, in the Arab south of Kinnerted, in the western foothills, in the northern door, on the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hittites below Hermon in the region of Magicals. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and carriers, a huge army as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together in the waters of Meron, the fights against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them over to Israel slain. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly as the waters of Meron attacked them, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pushed them all the way to the greater Sidon, the metropolis of Maim, in the valley of the Mizab, on the east, until no survivor were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put it king on the sword. Hazor had been the head of these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put the sword, totally destroyed them, not sparing anything that breathed, and he burned up Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put them to the sword. He of the Lord had commanded, yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on the mounds, except Hazor, which Joshua burned. These riches carried off from them slaves and plunder of the livestock of these cities. But all the people they put to the sword until they completely destroyed them, not not straying anyone that breathed. As the Lord commanded his servants Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua took this entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the whole region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Abraham and mountains of Israel with their foothills. From Mount Halak, which rises toward the sea, the valley Gad in the valley of Lebanon below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except over the Hittites living in the Gibeon. Not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally, exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua went to destroy the Amalekites from the hill country, from Hebron and Debir and Anab, from all the hill countries of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Amalekites were left in Israel territory, only in Gaza, Gath, and Asher did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land, just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as the inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had a rest from war. 12. These are the kings of the land, whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over east of Jordan, from the Arnon Gorg to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arab. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who resided in Heshbon, he ruled from Aroer and in rim of the Arnon Gorg. From the middle of the gorg, the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites, included half of the Gilead. He also ruled over to the eastern Arab, from the Sea of Kinedris to the Sea of the Arab, the Salt Sea, to Beth Jemestri, and in the southward below the slopes of the Pisgah. The territory of king of Basem, one of the last of the Rapistans, who regained in hostility to the Israel. He ruled over Mount Hermon, sacrificed all the Bashan to the border of the people of Geshur and Machis, and half of the Gibeon of the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land to the Rebusians and Gadites of the half tribe of Manasseh to be their possessions. These are the kings of the land that Joshua and the Israelites conquered on the west side of Jordan, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward the sea. Their land Joshua gave as an inheritance to the tribe of Israel, according to their tribal divisions. The hill country, the western foothills, the Arab, the mountain slopes, the desert of the Negev, the land of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hittites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai near Bethlehem, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Lebanon, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Madkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tapua, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Apek, 1. The king of Lasharan, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hather, 1. The king of Simon Meron, 1. The king of Achias, 1. The king of Tanakh, 1. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jochim in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in Naphtali, 1. The king of Gomer in Gilead, 1. The king of Tresel, 1. 31 kings in all.